There's an interesting dichotomy happening right now in self-improvement culture. On one side, it's push harder, optimize everything, discipline equals freedom, and fix yourself. On the other, it's you are enough exactly as you are. Stop trying to change yourself. Just accept who you are. And honestly, both of these are partially right, and both sides can become deeply destructive if taken to an extreme. And that's the problem with humans. We take useful ideas and then drive them directly into a wall at 140 kilometers per hour. We don't like nuance. Nuance is exhausting. We want a rule, a slogan, a bumper sticker, a quote over a mountain photo on Instagram. We gravitate towards dogma even though we say we're going to reject it if we come across it. See, life doesn't work that way because some things in your life absolutely should change, and some things in your life absolutely should be accepted. The hard part is knowing the difference. So let's start with the fix yourself side first. There are behaviors that genuinely damage people. Dishonesty, emotional volatility, avoidance, addiction, chronic blame, inability to regulate stress, refusal to communicate, refusal to take responsibility. All of those things have consequences, real consequences oftentimes. Those consequences show up in our relationships, in leadership, in our health, performance, and how we make meaning. Pretending otherwise is not compassion, it's avoidance, wearing soft language. Sometimes people will say, this is just who I am. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe that's a defense mechanism protecting a behavior that you don't want challenged. Because change is threatening. If you change your habits, you may have to change your identity. If you change your identity, you may have to change your relationships. If you change your relationships, you may have to confront more uncomfortable truths. That's why growth can feel dangerous. Not because we hate growth, but because we hate uncertainty. And growth oftentimes creates uncertainty. So yes, sometimes discipline matters, and therapy matters, and accountability matters, and hard conversations matter, but sometimes the answer is you need to work on this. Really. But now let's go to the other side. Because modern self-improvement culture has also created a different kind of sickness, a constant feeling that you are a project that is never complete, that your value lives somewhere in the future. 5 pounds lighter, more productive, more optimized, emotionally evolved, more successful and healed and disciplined and efficient. And the message becomes, you are acceptable only once repaired. Man, that's brutal. Because eventually you stop living your life and start managing yourself like a malfunctioning machine. Every emotion becomes a problem to solve. Every weakness becomes evidence of failure. Every difficult season becomes a pathology. You're tired? Get optimized. You're sad? Optimize yourself. You're distracted? Optimize harder. At some point, people stop being human and become self-improvement maintenance projects. And ironically, that creates even more anxiety. Because now your worth depends on continuous performance. And that's not growth. That's psychological debt. And this is where acceptance matters. Because acceptance says, this is real. That's it. Not whether it's good or bad. Not that it should change or not change. Not that you should give up. Just this is true right now. I feel anxious. I'm grieving about something. I feel overwhelmed. I feel insecure, or I am struggling with something. Reality first. Because denial burns enormous energy, physically and mentally. You cannot intelligently adapt to reality while arguing with its existence. Acceptance is not surrender, even though surrendering is important sometimes. Acceptance is contact with reality, and that distinction matters because some things are not meant to be fixed. Grief is not a software bug. Sensitivity does not mean weakness. Fear is not always failure, and stress is not proof that you're broken. Sometimes your nervous system is responding exactly the way a human nervous system responds under pressure, and stress. It doesn't mean to do nothing. It means to stop responding to yourself with contempt. There's a major difference here. I think this is where people can get trapped. They confuse acceptance with resignation and improvement with self-rejection, but they're not the same thing. Healthy acceptance says, I acknowledge reality without hating myself. Healthy growth says, I want to improve without believing I'm worthless. There can be a balance, because acceptance without agency becomes stagnation, but fixing without acceptance becomes self-hatred. And humans tend to drift towards whichever philosophy protects them from the discomfort they least want to face. We are amazing storytellers when it comes to protecting ourselves. The person avoiding responsibility often hides behind, this is just who I am. The person terrified of being unworthy often hides behind relentless self-improvement. Both are escape routes, which means the real question probably isn't, should I fix myself or accept myself? The better question is, what does this situation actually require? Sometimes the answer is courage, or rest, or discipline, or compassion, or action, or grief, or accountability, or patience, or something else. Wisdom is recognizing which mode you're in. And that's difficult because the human brain desperately wants universal rules and certainty. But life is uncertain. And life requires adaptation, which means growth is less about becoming perfect and more about becoming honest to know what needs to change, what needs to heal, what needs to be challenged, and what needs to be accepted. That's the work, not perfection. Awareness.